Hello everyone and welcome back. We're now in game number 2 for WE versus FPX after FPX turned the game around at the 28-minute mark and just decided, okay, we're ending, see ya WE, better luck next game. And that game felt really weird to watch, Clement.
It was a handshake from WE. It definitely wasn't FPX saying we're going to end and they dictated the terms. It was WE willingly participating in that. So we're going to take a look at the last team fight where all of that actually happened. If you look at your map right now, you can see everyone is in plain view from FPX, okay? W sees everyone right now. So they know that it's a 5-man in their mid lane, and they have Pose already pushing towards the inhibitor tower. What should they do here? All they need to do is make sure that backs aren't happening. As long as they stop the backs, they can get more out of Pose's lane. But the best situation for FPX is to fake something, to fake a back, or put enough pressure on W to get the teleport back, and then turn the fight. If they ever get a 5v4 team fight, that's the best case scenario for FPX. So WE, all they need to do is stop backs and make sure they don't fight a 5v4 here. That's their only two things that they need to do. If this situation resets or drags out, it's still in favor of WE. They don't need to risk anything. The same situation is still going to be there 2 minutes in the pass, and they're even going to be even further ahead because they don't have a Baron buff on FPX. But let's see how WE handle this situation. Let's roll the clip. So Doinb teaches them a lesson in object permanence. He hides on the side, and then he goes in. He finds Mystic as the first target. Great snipe on Crisp as well. And WE effectively throw the game. They didn't need a full engage there. They didn't actually need to walk up and use most of their abilities just in that chase. You can see beishang was going forward. He already used Audacious Charge just on the minions to get a slowdown there. That was not necessary to play it that aggressive. As long as they weren't starting their backs or weren't completing their backs, you didn't need to go into that way. And also you saw Mystic getting caught instantly, evaporating instantly. I just can't describe my disappointment for WE. That was a situation where it was an 80% to 20% situation in their favor, and they still gave FPX the best possible scenario to throw it away. I just don't know what to say.
Well, I do, Clement. And we have our MVP for that game number 1, and you saw him initiate that play. It was Doinb, of course it is. When is it not? 75% kill participation on that Aurelia, and he was just trying so hard to keep FPX in the game that entire time.
Yeah, Doinb is such a veteran of the game. He knows how to extend situations. He was looking for potential picks this entire game, and he really threw a lot of curveballs in W's way. If that game was played without any hiccups, if there weren't any of those messy trades happening around the Baron, then this should have been a straight and very clean W victory. So that's what Doinb gives you. A lot of times he's not willing to stand down, stand by. He's going to keep on trying. He's going to keep on finding those picks to get his team back into the game. And against teams like WE, who might not be that familiar with the 4-1 play style, who might not have the best shot calling, oftentimes it will work.
So we talked a little bit earlier, before we went to break, before we had time to contemplate what's just happened, fully process it, get in tune with our emotions, you know. We talked a little bit about FPX and that this was sort of not their kind of composition to run.
No, it definitely wasn't. You rarely see them relying on their lanes to cover for their jungle. Most of the time, Tain actually plays super aggressive champions to further extend his laning, extend his lanes. It's the other way around that they play. If you think about his best champs, it has been the Elise, it has been the Gragas. Those are the champions that can create gank kills in lane. It typically isn't something that farms up like the Karthus. So I think it's a worthwhile try, but didn't look so good in game 1.
No, it definitely could use some improvement. They may decide to run it again this game or a similar composition to change up their style. But for WE, this is a hard pill to swallow because for most of that game, they just had that win. Do we want to see draft changes? Do we want to see anything? Because, I mean, I think Post played beautifully for one.
Yeah, that's the most important thing here is I think Pose can be has shown up his form. Now, he had a lot of bad games earlier on in the season, but this play alone was reason to give hope right here. He gets a grand challenge and also stops down on the Requiem, able to turn essentially what is a 1v3 underneath his own tower for this play. And this is exactly why WE was willing to give him that red side last pick counter. And I think they can improve on that. You know, Pose has been this Korean import that revitalizes WE in the previous split. 6 straight wins. You know, it was a good good replacement for 957, who used to be the team captain, and his individual strength alone was able to carry WE forward. So I think those are good signs to hope for. They played against in a composition that made sense, was cohesive. They didn't know how to pilot it very well. That would be my criticism. But the draft was fine. Pose is showing up. They can continue in this fashion.
Well, let's bring it back to what we were talking about before the games, right? Because we were saying WE don't really have a set style. They don't really have a set feeling to their team. Now, they know what they need to do to beat FPX, but would you want them to run this kind of composition again and try and hone in the issues and just trust that since they had the lead for 27.5 minutes, maybe they can just not throw at the 28?
I think they can run the same composition. The couple of key points right there is, number one, they had a scaling composition in the bot side, so that is right up Mystic's alley. You put him into a 35-minute team fight without making big macro mistakes, and he will carry you to the finish line. Number two is you try to get Pose a counter pick. It does seem to work in his favor, even against something as OP as the Aatrox. So I think WE, that's the two main things I would like to see them still maintain in this current draft.
It's frustrating watching WE, I mean, for multiple reasons. But I think when you see little moments of a WE game, you're like, yes, this team looks fantastic. Mystic looked absolutely amazing on that Ezreal. Post, of course, with that outplay in the top side of the map, you're saying, how is this guy not stomping every game? How is he not winning? And last game, it just came down to not following your win condition, not communicating properly on what is, to be fair, a difficult composition to execute. But at a certain point, I want to see a little bit more coming out from WE. They were able to find success, like you said, 6-game win streak, with Post, with beishang, with Mystic as the primary carry. They just need to find that little extra bit of something.
And to be fair, like you said, 4-1 is the hardest composition to play. If there's a 2-3 that just kills your split pusher, and you don't react to that by taking tower with your 4-man, then you just instantly lose out. 4-1 requires so much more communication compared to a 1-3-1. The 1-3-1 composition, as long as all three lanes are past the river, you're going to get something, even if people die. Like, one of your lanes is going to hit tower. But for the 4-1, there are situations where you need very good dancing skills between your split pusher and the rest of the team. They need to be basically staggered. They need to put pressure one-on-one and not let go of each other. But that was a situation where the 4-man ran straight into a 5 and just threw the game. So it's hard, and it's not a comp that W plays much. So I think that's the reason that we see those scenarios come up. Doinb, of course, a great streamer. You can catch him on, I forgot the platform he is, so I'm not going to go outside, but you can search it up.
Yeah, you can just find his stream. We have a lot of pretty popular streamers in the pro populace. It's a wonder how Doinb has time to do literally anything. He's married. He is a full-time pro player. He's one of the most successful streamers. The man just works.
Yeah, he says he sees his wife twice a month, which is pretty difficult. Like, go out with his wife on dates twice a month. So that's a pro life, man. Like, getting a pro player, whew, you need to be there for them.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, if anything else about Doinb, you cannot doubt his dedication or his work ethic, because this man just absolutely tries his hardest in everything he does. And it's such a shame that we've seen him fall time and time again.
Yeah, I don't think I would find a partner if I told him we're going to meet twice a month. It's a tough thing to sell. But Doinb has done it. Congratulations to him. Oh, it's also Father's Day. I wonder if we'll see small Doinb anytime soon.
Oh, boy.
But FPX finally going back to the red side. Now, this is a WE side selection. Actually, a little bit surprised by that, considering how well the Pose counterpick went.
Just not wanting to see the same things over and over again. And FPX are going to take away the Yuumi this time. Nautilus being banned out as well from WE. So a lot of flex picks have been taken off the board here with the Jace, the Aurelia, and the Ryze so far. I guess the Nautilus, too, we've been seeing at mid as well.
Yep. The Sylas is something that I think most teams should be looking at right now. With the nerfs to Akali and Jace on 9.11, I think he now stands solo as one of the best flex pickers. And, of course, Aatrox. Sorry, I forgot about you.
Well, that's what the bans are looking for, right? You give up one of the flex picks, you get the other one, and Sylas is an absolutely frightening one to give away.
Yeah, and I love putting Aatrox first pick, because if the enemy wants to counter you, they have to pick the Fiora early, and then you can just swap the Aatrox to mid lane and avoid the counter completely. So it's very hard to deal with. If you don't pick a counter within the first phase, then I'm 100% sure they're going to ban the Fiora against someone like GimGoon. GimGoon loves to play that champion. It was one of his mains when he came back onto the team.
Looks like we might be able to see a little bit of solo lane spice coming out here from FPX. They may not be looking for the counter pick necessarily. They're rotating through it, and will be the Sylas locked in here. We talked about it earlier. Very, very strong flex pick on this patch.
Yeah, the Sylas is pretty much moved to number 2 right behind Aatrox in terms of the flex picking. But with Sejuani, that's actually a bit of a weaker lane. They still have the CC chain, but it doesn't have the same burst damage as we typically see with the Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai Sylas, of course, is the bread and butter kill lane that we see in the LPL.
Of course, you will not have that one here, but you will have both solo lanes potentially locked in. WE instead going to opt for the support, picking up the Tahm Kench there for themselves.
And we've seen Tahm Kench mainly with Sona. I wonder if WE is going to work towards that composition. It is going to be the Sona, it looks like. Even though Tahm Kench was nerfed quite heavily, as long as you can take Sona out of burst damage, she can then heal up with the area of Perseverance. And as long as she gets like 2 Ws off in a team fight, you're almost guaranteed to win that. The AP ratios are insane on that one. So W once more going for a scaling bot side, strong pick on the top or the solo lanes. I love what they're doing here. That's exactly the win conditions we said that they should go for.
And Crisp this time going for the Lux once again. I was not convinced last game by Crisp's Lux performance. It was serviceable, but it didn't really get a whole lot done in the lane, I felt.
The thing about Lux is you really need to put the enemy in a position where you're poking them, you have map priority, you're grouping up first, or else in just wild skirmishes out in the open, it's very hard for her to actually land her skill shots. So I felt like Chris's Lux was actually serviceable. He landed the crucial CC in the last team fight to allow the lockdown onto Mystic. I think his Lux is fine, but it's not strong enough of a kill lane against Sona Taric. You need a very strong jungler early game to burst that out.
Well, they do have the Sejuani for now, but not exactly that early game powerhouse you're looking for in terms of the damage. Now, FPX have taken away the Nico from xiye, and the Camille banned away as well. FPX rotating around on their picks, figuring out what they want to do. If they locked that in...
Do it, come on. LWX is a Draven player as well. We have a ton of them in the LPL.
We have Draven players, we have Riven one-tricks. The LPL really brings it all, Clement.
Oh, please no. That's boring.
Come on, Clement. Don't love the Caitlyn AD carry coming in here from LWX.
It's okay. Like Caitlyn with the recent buffs, I feel like is still quite powerful. The only issue is that her build path is considerably weaker than Lethal Temple Essence Reaver. Like that has been the dominant AD carry position. Raw damage, infinite lane sustain, and you have the attack speed from Lethal Temple to then cover up all your bases. So Caitlyn, I think her buffs are relevant, and she's definitely better than what she was before, but she doesn't really match up to Sivir and Xayah in terms of how strong they are in the recent patch.
Given those weaknesses, what is the justification for picking the Caitlyn here?
Well, I think number one, you still scale quite well, and it's a champion that can stay out of range from Sona. It doesn't allow Sona to poke you down as frequently, and if you can get a full-on engage, then you're just in a better position compared to the other champion. Now we're going to see a Karma here from coming in from xiye most likely. So that's a champion where you're going to have lane priority. The biggest weakness for Tahm Kench and Sona is if they lose lane control and they just get dove on.
FPX hovering the Fiora. It will be locked in. We're going to get to see the GimGoon Fiora, Clement.
Okay, now we've been talking about this. GimGoon is a Fiora lover. He used to be a Fiora one-trick while he was still on FPX. So I'm actually quite surprised that we didn't see a ban coming in from WE, but it does look like they're going to do the swap that we were talking about, sending Aatrox on xiye instead, and giving us a very rare glimpse of the top lane Karma. That's a champion we don't see quite frequently. We know that there's 2 ways to build it. A lot of times there's the Glacial Augment way and also the way with the Kleptomancy. But that's typically against tank matchups. I'm very curious on what he's going to build in the top lane.
You have the capacity to kite out with the shield and with the W to get the roots down, but I admit, Clement, this is not a matchup I'm super knowledgeable about.
Yeah, we haven't seen a Karma top lane, I believe, for the entire split. Ray, I think, picked it once in spring. Yeah, so Ray picked it once in spring, but elsewise, it's just not a common champion to see.
Karma top, though. I'm excited for it. Get to see a little bit of unique picks coming out here in the second game. And WE, their composition has so much supportive potential. Feels like their main damage is going to come into that Aatrox, into that Sona.
This is a comp where if you can't burst someone out, they will just snowball and win the fight 5v5. They get someone down, then Aatrox is going to have the revive. They're going to have multiple heals throughout the entire duration. So what I'm looking for on FPX's side is they need to make use of that single burst potential that they have. Very crucial is going to be the Sejuani ultimate and Lux dealing damage to the entire composition. I think this is one of those games where you might see the Lux not only build for, typically she's going to go for the Athenes, she's going to go for the Redemption, but this time around, I think a little bit of AP actually suits their purposes quite well.
Oh, you can't be saying that, Clement. My solo queue is going to be screwed, man.
I'm sorry, but if you don't burst this comp, they have so much sustain, so much shielding, they're just going to outlast you.
You're going to need to see a whole lot of burst coming out from FPX, or WE might outlast them in game number 2 and make it to a game number 3. We're going to find out.
Descent among the ranks is what I would call that.
I love that it was not one chant leader there for RNG. It was the entire crowd. For the third one, it was just like 17 people going, RNG. That's dedication, of course.
What are you RNG fans doing there?
Yeah, I was going to say, like for the second series.
In Beijing.
For the second series, I was like, well, that kind of makes sense. JDG's stadium is also in Beijing. But why did you come to Xi'an just for this? Both junglers going to be starting on the bottom side of the map, but it looks like Doinb scrapping out a little bit with posts. And this is really interesting, Clement. They've rotated not the picks, but the laners.
Yeah, this is some FLICKR action that we've seen back in the previous splits. I love teams that can do this with their solo laners. It allows you so many more opportunities to counter out the enemy composition. And now it's going to put xiye in a difficult position.
xiye in a little bit of trouble now that he's in the counter matchup in the middle lane. So looking at the Keystones, nothing too crazy coming out here, of course. Fleet footwork on Caitlyn, very much the standard for her. Not going to be going the lethal tempo very often. Gives her the sustain, lets her still poke down. With the Lux, they have the opportunity for it. Crisp looking for a binding, not going to land, just a little bit wide.
And if you look at FPX's rune choice, this is going to give them a separate win condition outside of the 5v5. They can look for a 1-3-1. Conquerors is one of the best scaling runes you can take. The healing just going along with your damage is really good in those side lanes. So I like this idea here, you know, taking the Conquerors onto Sylas in the top, switching around the lane counters. It's going to give them great opportunities. Wow, and this is Mystic, his 400th game being played in the LPL, moving up to rank 10 in the history books.
Congratulations to him, but hopefully it's going to end up with a win for him.
Mystic.
You're
a Debbie Downer, aren't you?
Look, I'm just saying, Clement, last game was not all... Okay, last game was pretty convincing from him, but the macro had a little bit to be desired. But if I trust someone to carry WE, I definitely trust Mystic the most.
True, true.
Last split, that was basically all he did. But now, Scuttle Crab going to be contested here. Beishang and Tain both wanting to go for it. But in the bottom lane, first blood on to missing. How does that happen?
Oh, I think it has to be the chain stun. If you land the light binding and then you follow up with the cupcakes, that's so many seconds of CC.
Plus the auto reset coming in. So Caitlyn, that is one of the strengths of hers, just the insane burst damage if you're able to get a combo with your support providing CC before you put the cupcake on her, like you said, get double headshots with your 90 caliber net as well.
This is the second time that we're actually seeing a Caitlyn lane being played, and in a kill lane fashion as well. That's super interesting to watch. I want to see if there is that double headshot like you were talking about. You can get it with the cupcakes and the E. Any of the skills from Caitlyn that deal damage will give you that. So let's see, it's one hit. Peacemaker, 2 hit, and just the E to finish off. Didn't even need the double.
Nope, didn't even have to auto-cancel all that much, so. Darn, that's the BF sword already at 4 minutes into the game, and GimGoon chunking out xiye a little bit there, but I'm still sort of scared by this bottom lane. 4.5 minute BF sword, Clement.
That's a great start to it. They got the Tahm Kench before the Grey health could come down. However, Missing still has his flash, so should still be quite safe here.
That said, that BF sword gives a lot of push potential here for LWX, even more than before, and those platings are not long for this world, but it looks like neither maybe xiye as Crisp looks for the binding, not going to be able to find it, just going to throw out. Oh no, Crisp, you're in a whole lot of trouble, has to flash away under tower, teleport coming in from Mystic as well. So that is 180 carry, who will not be in the bottom lane. This gives LWX a little bit of time to push. They're looking for Missing now. Maybe able to find the stun. They do. Tain, a little bit of damage put down onto Missing. Crisp not going to be able to find the binding as well. Oh, but no, the Devour goes down onto Tain. Now he's stuck between three. He just abandoned his jungler. Crisp gets over with the Blast Plant. Tian's down. Binding lands onto two. LWX gets the Q. Onto Missing. Onto Mystic. The slow comes out from Crisp. They should be able to kite this one out. But if LWX can get a little bit more damage, if he can land the trap, that should be the kill. They're going to find the net. They find the kill. LWX 2-0-0 on this Caitlyn.
Damn, that cooldown is short on Lux. Whoa, I didn't expect Crisp to be able to land that. The initial fight onto Tahm Kench was a little bit questionable. You can see Missing not even having to burn his flash, just with the Grey health enough to outlast FPX and find that kill. But now they're looking at a 2-0 Caitlyn, and she's going to be building into that IE relatively soon. That's a lane that you don't want to be in. I think Mystic might not be able to get into the into the scaling phase where they have 3 sources of income before they lose their first tower. Now, just looking at this fight again, Chris already used his flash, so this is a 2v2 that is quite suspect on the side from FPX, and like we were talking about, beishang was in place. They get the Pop Blossom, but only on, not Pop Blossom, only on one person to get over the wall. They lose one. And this is the situation where I think maybe they should have taken another wall. Double cupcake. Mystic finds his way through, but it puts him in such an easy place to get zoned out. I was actually quite surprised by Mystic being able to walk through those cupcakes.
You play enough AD carry, eventually you get used to how often people walk around yours, and you can figure out how to do it yourself, I guess. But like you said, LWX building towards that Infinity Edge, has the BF Sword and the pickaxe, and if you look at the dragon that's on the field, this spells disaster for WE. An early Infernal potentially going over to FPX because they do have so much control on this bottom side. This is getting very, very scary.
It definitely is, and Sona Tahm Kench is one of those lanes you don't want to play out in the open. They get sniped out so easily. Sona has one of the lowest HP values in the entire game. I think W needs to hold on to this bot lane. They can give up the Drake, that's fine, but the pressure coming from the other lanes and just from LWX himself, it's going to be so difficult to deal with. What they're really looking for is for beishang to try and change that dynamic. I think beishang's going to have to look for a kill down there.
Well, this is such a big problem because already GimGoon was countering xiye in this matchup. Already he had the advantage, but now there's no way you can send beishang into this mid lane because any time you spend there is time you can't be pressuring LWX and Crisp, and they're just putting out relentless amounts of damage already onto the bot lane of WE. Look at that tower. That is well below half health. FPX might just get the tower at like 10 minutes. There's more damage. Crisp has to be devoured there by Missing, but now that's on cooldown. Next time Mystic messes up, he's dead.
It's a very long cooldown at that, so I'm not sure what WE can do at this point. Like, beishang is coming, you see he's trying to go for a lane gank, but WE, they're already so low in terms of HP.
Finding in the trap as well. Grey health barely even helps Missing in that one. Mystic going to try and heal them back up, and Crisp is backing at this point, so at the very least, won't have to worry about getting killed for another few seconds, but LWX rotating back in the lane now. Infernal Chain's going to land onto GimGoon in the mid lane. But he's just happy in this lane. He doesn't have to do a whole lot. He's got the CS lead. He's got the push lead with that Tiamat. And now FPX are looking towards the Dragon.
The Dragon's going to be great for FPX. Well, probably the Infernal going well into the 1-3-1 that they're going to be able to push later on. And it does look like FPX, the way they should play it is, since Karma's not actually getting that many turret platings in the top side, you just try to strangle the mid lane, strangle the bottom. You get that first tower, rotate to mid. And Aatrox is not going to be able to survive with the wave clear he has. It's going to be very difficult for him to wave clear against a Caitlyn. I think the game setting, the entire game plan is set for FPX. It's really down to beishang to see if he can cause some turbulence and change this.
This is so unfortunate as well because you look at the timer and the next dragon, we can see it right now. It's a mountain. This is like the worst possible RNG you can have for WE. If they don't find a way to contest in the next 5 minutes, how are they going to get back into this game? Because once you have that tower taking pressure, Caitlyn already has a ton. You give her a Mountain Drake on top of that. She has her Zeal now. She picks up the Infinity Edge, finishes into a rapid fire cannon. She can just chunk down that tower and no way to answer.
I like what WE's answer is here, though. At least they're proactively going for the Herald, trading back something for nothing on the map. That's a good idea. And I want to see if FPX's bot lane tries to push. You can see the pings out from WE already. It's like, why aren't they pushing? Why are they holding the wave? So FPX is actually caught sleeping here. They don't really participate this Herald take, and even though they have a lot of members surrounding that area, they're not checking it out whatsoever.
No, they're just focusing on the lane swap that occurred between Post and xiye. So good distraction there from WE. The Rift Herald will go down. Tain spots it out finally. Oh no, he's in the pit. He's got to flash out of that one, and he will. That's flash down from Tain, so no flash engage is going to be coming out from the Sejuani for the next 5 minutes.
Gotta say, that's some slow reaction time from FPX.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure who's going to take the first tower. I think it's still going to go to LWX, though.
Oh, yeah. 100%. That turret still has 4 platings in the top lane. You've got a full wave in the bottom side. You've got a Caitlyn. Should be this next auto. There you go. 610 gold in the pocket of LWX. WE will trade up here on the top side of the map, but I don't know if they're going to give solo gold to Mystic just yet. Doesn't look like it.
Ooh, good teleport from Sylas as well. So multiple turret platings being taken down here, and they're still pushing on the bot side. LWX hasn't given up. He's sitting on the best power spike for that turret pushing.
Yep, he's just sitting on it. He has the attack speed. He has the raw AD. You can't crit towers, Clement. So you just want that attack speed on top of the raw AD from the Pickaxe BF sword. And now Crisp is rotating down as well. They're going to be trading sides here, but it looks like they may be able to find a pick onto xiye as well. That should be a trap. That should be a kill for LWX. 3-0-0 on this Caitlyn at just 11 minutes into the game. They're going to be trading tier 2 towers almost at this point, but Doinb may be able to push it down. He's popped the ultimate there that he stole from Aatrox, but it's not going to do a whole lot other than dissuade the push, and that may just be enough.
Yep, as long as he's able to wave clear, they're still fine, and LWX might just get 2 towers on this solo push. A little bit unfortunate from Pose. I actually felt like he had vision of Sejuani, but wasn't able to react to it with his flash.
Now, LWX, like you said, will pick up the second tower, 350 more gold in his pocket. I'm interested to see if he finishes the Infinity Edge first. I suspect that's what he'll do, but...
this is LWX with the Flame Horizon at 12 minutes. That's got to feel good.
Jesus.
Ooh.
Of course, it is a Sona Tom Kench lane, to be fair.
Ooh, look at those items. You remember us talking about the win condition for FPX? They need to burst someone down. I think they found that burst.
Yeah, I think LWX can do that solo. Infinity Edge rapid fire cannon from massive range. LWX is going to kill you. If you ever step on a trap, I am fairly certain you just die instantly. Especially if you're Mystic. Like you said, one of the lowest base HPs in the game.
That's the fastest 2-item AD carry we've seen this split. I'm pretty sure that has to be the fastest.
When you make that statement, Clement, before this series started, I would have imagined you'd be saying that about Mystic, if anyone.
Yeah, I didn't expect it on LWX, but the kills he got, it was just tremendous. The kill on Mystic, tiptoeing over the cupcakes, didn't work out for him. And we see him doing 700 damage crits onto the minion wave. I wonder how Mystic is going to fare.
This tower is just melting. They don't even have the Mountain Drake yet. There's the ultimate crescendo down as well. LWX will pick off one, but they're under tower fighting right now. Tain tanks the tower shot. Doinb tanks one as well, but it doesn't matter. They're just not taking damage, and Chris does so much. Doinb dives in, finds xiye, but he's going to fall for it. Didn't steal the Aatrox ult, but LWX picks ones up. He flashes in with a rapid fire cannon to get a kill. That is how confident he is. And why shouldn't he be? 5-0-1 on this Caitlyn. Still has the teleport available. They're going to pick up the mid lane outer.
Yeah, you got to love that play from Doinb, just making sure that they can no longer defend this mid lane tower. And just that much gold on Caitlyn is absolutely frightening. Carries that can stack items, they exponentially buff a carry's output potential, because those raw stats you get from the second and third item, they multiply the first item stats. So you have this trend where you're almost going to see a third item Caitlyn before 20 minutes. The average game time in the LPL is only 31 minutes. So you get one team fight with 3 items. This game from FPX, I think they're going to get multiple team fights like that.
Well, feels like multiple with just 2 items would be enough after this one.
Yeah, this is the scary thing about Lux. If you can get into a position where you're sieging on the enemy, it becomes so difficult for them to wave clear. And W don't have the comp to do it. Aatrox can't really do it. He's a melee champion earlier on. If he wants to go in, he's going to take a lot of damage from LWX. Mystic doesn't really have the wave clear either, so they're sitting ducks underneath their towers. I felt like that was a situation where they needed to give up that tower, regroup, and do a big push into FPX.
But now they don't have that opportunity. As we mentioned earlier, the second Drake will be a mountain, and this is so scary. WE, not only did they not get more control, they've lost it. They only have 1 outer tower remaining. It's in the top lane. They have nothing left but an inhibitor tower on the bottom side of the map. Baron spawns in 4 minutes, and you already have a Caitlyn with a rapid-fire cannon, Infinity Edge, completed boots, and almost a second Zeal.
You know there's a troll build on there's a streamer that does lethality Caitlyn. Actually works really nice with the ace in the hole.
Pick up a Dustblade here maybe for LWX?
Yeah, it's kind of a fun composition. Of course, LWX is going to play it safe. We're going to go with the normal build. Into the second crit item. So 75 crit, looking at that. I really want to see his gold stats. I'm pretty sure he's going to get this before the Baron.
At this point, it's looking likely, of course. He's almost completed the Zeal already, and he's just getting free farm. There's no way they have to contest him. He has the most CS in the game. He's got 5 kills. It's going to take multiple members committal to get to him. But FPX, look what they have on the other side. You have the Fiora split pushing, so anytime you give up pressure to go and try and stop the bottom lane, you give up stopping GimGoon. You give up stopping the towers from going down from either side of the map.
Yeah, this is so early in the game that I think the static Shiv is going to give him a tremendous boost of DPS. Or you could go Runan's Hurricane as well. That's a standard build, but I like static. Like, it's so early on. People don't have that much MR.
It's fun. Static's a lot of fun. You get a whole lot of burst in the team fights as well. And it charges a lot faster thanks to the rapid fire cannon passive. But look at this. FPX have just taken down 2 towers in the top lane, entirely uncontested from WE. Clement, if you're WE, what should you be doing? Because I feel like it's not this.
Well, you have to take down Caitlyn. I think the best thing you should do is you can give up a tower. The tower is pretty much, you know, it's going to be the same amount of gold as LWX's bounty alone. So what you should be doing is using Missing's Abyssal Voyage and try to snipe out the Caitlyn. I think even if you give up a tower for it, it's totally worth it. And you stop the push as well. But W didn't do any of that. So a lot of times when you're playing against a comp that's already in a dominant position and playing a 1-3-1, you have to be willing to give up objectives to find kills.
Well, luckily at this point for FPX, they have nothing left to worry about. And WE going to have to find their way back into this, find something on the board, because right now they're losing every objective. They are losing every kill. Red buff going over to LWX, and with that rapid fire cannon, he's also picked up the QSS, so he has a ton of safety in this next fight. Won't have the flash for the time being. So if they can land 2 CCs on him in a row, LWX is suddenly in a whole lot of trouble. He has no way to reposition.
Yep, but LWX, being the good boy that he is, went for the Quicksilver Sash. You know, he wasn't thinking about static shift like we were. Great item move. He's going to be able to get out of the crescendo when it does come. I want to see WE go in on the 5v5. They have a big lack of engage. The only way they can do it is with Mystic Flash.
Flash not up on LWX, but doesn't seem to matter. He gets devoured there in the front line. Beishang, crescendo stolen by Doinb, lands on the 3, but they don't want to keep engaging under this. LWX gets stunned up. He is low. He has to use the QSS already, but he's still in range of room for the Karma route. But there's a teleport coming in from GimGoon. He's looking for it. Beishang's been picked off by Doinb, and FPX without GimGoon take down beishang in the 4 versus 5.
That was a fiery galley set up for FPX. So much damage being done by LWX, and Doinb, with perfect damage calculation, I might add, is able to walk out alive. Good work on that Conqueror's great second proc on that Chain Lash just to take down the kills. But these are really not the fights that W should be looking to fight. What they should be looking for is, you know what, let's just give up a tower, and we go for a 5v3. That's the best case scenario they can possibly hope for. But I feel like they're a little bit too timid. And if you look at their map, they've actually waited until the point that FPX has taken down all of their outer towers.
With the gold lead at this point, Clement, it feels like even that 5v3 might not be a guarantee for WE. It's 8K in favor of FPX. They have the Infernal, they have the Mountain. Baron spawning in 30 seconds, and we talked about it. Is he going to have the 3 items before Baron? Just
yes,
barely.
He will.
And he took, okay, he's going for the Phantom Dancer, it looks like. And he took the side to get the QSS on top of it. So 3 items plus a QSS. That's boring.
I know it's a safe option, like most pro players would go this, but I think it's early enough in the game, and you have enough protection that you should just go for the Runons.
Runons would have given him a whole lot of extra team fight damage.
Have to stay bunched. If they're going to use that Karma Inspire Shield, they're going to stay bunched. So just get the Runons and play it happy.
not IG happy though. We don't need that kind of happy.
A little
game.
bit too happy.
Yeah, that's a little bit. That's a little bit overjoyed. We don't want to see that from FPX as GimGoon picks up yet another tower. So it just feels like FPX are putting the screws to WE at this point. You have GimGoon constantly split pushing, and if you ever try to contest the rest of FPX, you have to deal with LWX. He's 3 items, has the QSS, his flash is back up now. WE need to find an advantageous fight for themselves, but at this point, feels like the game may end before that's a possibility.
Definitely will. Like, if you look at Mystic's items, he still doesn't have the second one completed. Still working on his Banshees. A bit of cooldown, a little bit of damage. But right now, Sono is not much different from a super minion. She walks around. She has an ultimate. That's pretty much it. But she's worthless compared to what Caitlyn is right now.
And that's the thing against the Caitlyn, too. I mean, you have that much range. If Mystic ever steps on a trap, he is dead. Full stop.
LWX actually has no one beyond it. He's just like, yeah, of course.
He's fine. He's got red buff, man. He can kite him out. Doinb's even going for the engage. They're feeling confident about this, and they should.
That's just how you know that W feels so cowed at this point. Like, they're pretty much, FPX is presenting you with the best possible win scenario you have at this point, and W can't even take it.
But Doinb can take the world ender there from xiye, and they will pick up the Scuttle Crab as well, but doesn't look like FPX want to go for the Dragon. Instead, they're waiting for the bait. They may be able to find beishang. He has a flash away, and this time, they might try and keep the fight going. Tain with the ultimate in, and now FPX are chasing down. LWX still has the firing gallery going. He picks up one, and now the flank comes in from GimGoon. This should be the last team fight they need. Double kill comes in, triple kill. WE just xiye. Just Mystic alive. The ace in the hole does so much damage. Absolutely ridiculous. And now FPX are just continuing to chase down onto xiye as the push continues in the middle lane. 3 for 0 so far. Let's see him make it 4. Come on, GimGoon. There it is. Give it to us. A near ace by FPX. They'll be able to pick up the inhibitor tower and the inhibitor. And Baron is still on the field.
I was counting auto attacks right there. It was 4 shots for LWX to take out post. It was only 3 shots for Tahm Kench. And Missing didn't even get his Gray Shield off. It was I think I can... Oh, no. I'm dead.
They're not even waiting for the Baron at this point. It looks like FPX want to take it. LWX still in a safe position, still has the flash available. Their Nexus is not safe, though, from WE. FPX are still firing away. They want to keep the undefeated, but they want to keep this team fight going, too. They pick off 4. Mystic, last one. There's the shot. And LWX asserts his dominance as FPX remain undefeated.
And what a stellar performance from FPX. A very unique lane, the second time we saw Caitlyn, and a great answer to the Sona Taric lane. It was a kill lane, it was well thought out. They got the level 2 burst kill onto Tahm Kench before the Gray Shield was even in play, and they were able to snowball it so perfectly. I thought W actually had a good comp. I actually liked their comp. It was a comp that did very well in 5v5 team fights. It was going to be very difficult to outlast them if they ever went into that phase. But FPX, once again, with the tempo, with the smart lane swap, was able to run WE off the face of the earth.
Now, Clement, I like to take notes during the game. I like to make sure I'm informed on what's happening. You know, have things to talk about on the desk. Now, I'd like you to read what's here. You want to read that for everyone in the audience?
Caitlyn OP.
That's right. That's the only note you need for that game, baby, because LWX was just absolutely insanely dominant on it with Crisp. Like you said, that combo at level 2, that never stopped happening.
Yeah, that was a great idea from FPX's side. They had the lane priority earlier on. They were able to push in. It was level 3 versus level 2 scenario. They had the level lead. And then they had so many skirmishes that just fed all the kills into the Caitlyn. Very interesting way to play it. The first time we've actually seen this combination on the Rift. And they get rewarded for it. However, on the flip side, I will say I'm quite disappointed in WE. I don't think they put up enough of a fight. Now, if you think about the way that LWX was taking these towers, he was doing it a lot of times alone or maybe just on the 2-man. I felt W had a lot of chances to try and snipe him down before he got to that 3 items at 18 minutes. That was a bit ridiculous. But W never made the play. They lost all their towers, and when Baron was up, they ran as 5-man into the middle of the map, which was a surefire death sentence. There's no way they were going to come out of that alive. And I just feel like W, they didn't have the shot calling. They didn't have the fight in them to actually claw out a win. Just look at that damage. They were basically taking it without giving anything back. The most damage someone on that team did was 6,000 in the top lane. Compare that to LWX. I'm sure that he actually outdamaged the entire enemy team.
He is 4,000 damage short because I had that exact thought.
He was 4,000 short?
Did the math in my head.
Okay.
Now, I did it in my head, so it may not be perfectly accurate, but LWX, just ridiculous amounts of damage on that Caitlyn pick. And for FPX, be happy with that game number 2. There's not a whole lot to criticize there. But as we were talking about for WE, that is not a great look.
They just didn't do anything. I think that's the problem. Like, someone's sieging your towers, all 3 lanes are behind, you just give up a tower, you go for a big 5v3 fight, your win percentages are not going to rise in the late game. The enemy is too far ahead where if you allow them to continue to snowball, it's going to be Baron, it's going to be the end of the game. You're putting one of those situations, and I think this is very symptomatic of the current meta, is that you have to win early skirmishes to ever think about a late game. If you're not willing to fight early, then you can forget about the late game. It's way too easy to snowball. The Drakes are 5 minutes each Drake. They're already started off with a Mountain and Infernal. Baron is coming up. You can't allow them to just walk away with that type of a tempo lead. You have to present a unified front and try to wrestle something back. The fact that they didn't do any of that, they waited until the entire team for FPX were then rotated and sieging their towers before they started 5v5 was very questionable to me. The only way you win that is if you go, okay, forget about this bot lane. We're going to go 5v3. We're going to get that 700 gold bounty onto LWX, that Caitlyn. And they never found it. They never even tried, which is the baffling part for me for WE. It just looked like this is a team that has severe shot calling issues. I actually liked their compositions in both games. I felt like both of these comps made a lot of sense if they were able to play them out. But number one, they need to fix the early game. The early game collapsed way too early in this game too. And number two is just their shot calling needs a lot of work. I don't think they're pulling the trigger at the right times at all.
And it's one of the most frustrating issues to watch too, right? Because it's not you made the wrong decisions. That's the last split and most of their career Snake special. It's just like, what are you? Your early game was good, but what the hell are you doing? No, WE didn't have that. It's one of the most frustrating problems because it is not you made the wrong decisions, you made the wrong play. It is you made no decisions, you made no play.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you have to imagine that WE's coach is just going back there and taking off the belt and being like, what were you guys thinking? What were you doing that whole time?
I really don't know. I really don't know. That's a big question mark for me as well, but the credit where it's due, I feel like FPX really suffocated this game. And if you look at the way they did it, it was a very smart swap between GimGoon and Doinb. And this is something that we were saying in the spring split. FPX, they played the most amount of champions compared to any other team back in 2019 in the spring split. And you can see with that champion pool what it allows them to do. It allows them to find strong matchups between the top side and the mid side. Another interesting fact is that they share the most champions between their solo lanes. They're able to play Renekton, and they're able to play the weird champions like Rumble and stuff like that. And it allows them so much leeway to gain control of the top side when they were the ones being counterpicked. If you see that and you just think about how you play against FPX, it becomes so difficult. Really, the only weak spot on FPX overall, I felt like was their bot side. Sometimes it can be quite inconsistent, but if LWX is showing up, if they can still maintain that swap advantage in the top side, then this team looks perfect. It looks complete. You don't really have anything that you can shut them down with anymore.
I mean, and show up he did on that last one because that was an absolutely crazy performance. And I don't know, this is the match I really want to see, just out of everything right now, is FPX RNG.
Yes.
Because I think this is the ultimate test for both of those teams. IG are still looking a little bit shaky, Once they recover a little bit more, I'd still like to see them go up against FPX, but I feel like that's the team that is capable of pressuring FPX in the way that they need to be pressured to fall down, because like we said earlier, it's the mid lane 2v2 that you can shut down FPX with. And game number 1, I think they were trying to get away from that a little bit. They were trying to get to a point where it's just like, okay, if our mid lane 2v2 gets shut down, we still have options. But their option in game number 1 was not an option of their own volition. That was WE messing up and them capitalizing on it, which is good. But it's not ideal. So when they go up against an opponent that shuts down the mid lane 2v2, what do FPX do at this point? Because that is the one weakness we can still say they have.
Yeah, if they don't have enemy jungle control, if you don't have Doinb running around the map, what does FPX resort to? That's the big question they have. Can they go and play a scaling game? That's also something that isn't really in their repertoire, but I want to see if they can actually pull out. So not really a test for FPX today, and WE fall down to 0-4 along with Dominus Gaming at the very bottom of the table. But for FPX, they remain flawless.
Yep, 4-0 have yet to drop a single game, but next up our series will be the e-commerce wars. It's JDG versus Suning. Stick around, we'll be back with that one in a little bit.